still very much in the early infancy of this channel and releasing videos, and I know there's a handful of people out there who've watched obviously my Counter-Strike video. What I do want to say is obviously thank you to those that have watched, the few of you that have subscribed, thank you. I do really want to have a focus on this channel of just bringing and talking about games that just probably have been a little bit lost in time. That is really what the core purpose of this channel is, and it's just a bit of fun, really. Me playing through games that I played, 15, 20 years ago, and just talking about what made them unique. So I'm about to talk about this next one. It's everybody's favorite developer, Bullfrog, and boy, did they release some work on, in some capacity, a whole host of incredible games, didn't they? I mean, Theme Park World, Populous, Quake, Syndicate, to name a few. Absolutely incredible games that just don't seem to age. They might be a little difficult to get to run on modern day machines, and the graphics are a little scraggy by today's standards, but the games still have plenty of soul, and even more importantly, they're obviously still fun to play. Now, Bullfrog, they were the gold standard in the late 80s and the 90s of world-class video games, in my opinion, until they got brought out by everyone's favourite developer, EA, for a cool $44 million in 1995. Now, I'd love to take a steaming dump on EA and trash them for destroying a truly revolutionary developer who had paved the way for the transition into modern video game development by creating some of the first 3D games we'd ever seen. But honestly, I'd probably be doing them a disservice, because for another 6 years post the buyout, Bullfrog did continue to churn out some truly remarkable titles. And this brings me on to the topic of today's video, Theme Hospital. Now, naturally, after building and managing your own theme parks a few years earlier, it was time to create and manage a hospital. And Theme Park was just as weird and wacky, with its own unique humour, graphics and playstyle as the theme park releases before it. The game's premise is pretty simple. You're in charge of a hospital, you're required to cure a specific number of patients and generate a set profit before the game offers you a chance to move on to the next hospital, with the difficulty ramping up at each and every level. However, it's the amazing detail mixed in with humour around the specific illnesses you need to cure, the treatment rooms, the natural occurring events, and the descriptions of doctors when you're identifying who to hire. These things really keep you playing, and it makes it such an enjoyable ride. You'll need to manage your finances, hire and fire doctors, nurses, handymen, receptionists. You'll be required to purchase additional land to expand your hospital, create research departments in order to research new technology to cure patients. You need to manage epidemics, host VIP visits, brace the natural elements, and clean up after your dirty visitors. You'll need to be prepared to deal with illnesses such as bloated head, king complex, where patients dress up like Elvis and believe they are him, the squits, a slang term in the UK for the shits, transparency, kidney beans, and male pattern baldness, to name a few. You'll have major obstacles to contend with, such as natural events, mainly those damn earthquakes which damaged equipment or simply destroyed the room. And for those that you know what I'm talking about there, I'll move on to that one later. There's medical emergencies where you can accept a specific number of patients, all with the same illness requiring immediate attention within a short time period. Succeed and there's a cash prize, fail and you receive nothing and you take a hit to your reputation. Managing your finances is also important. The game requires a certain amount of cash to proceed to the next level, but you can also take a helping hand in the form of loans from the bank manager, whose pockets are hilariously filled to the brim with cash. Moving into hiring a staff, and this was so much fun, mainly due to the hilarious descriptions of them. A bone idol, smells faintly of cabbage, death. The game has classic British humour embedded into it, and it's brilliant. Still to this day, it never fails to make me laugh with its audacity and its general lack of just not giving a shit. It's a Bullfrog masterpiece, and the game really took aim at the privatised American health system, satirising it at every opportunity. For me, as I said, Theme Hospital is a masterpiece. It's everything I'd personally want in a game. There's humour to make the time pass, its challenging nature, and trust me, it becomes a very, very hard game to complete. Just ask anyone who's attempted that final level. It's infuriating as well, as patients regularly die on the hospital floor with little explanation as to why, and it really requires focus and dedication. It's not a game for the faint-hearted, and it will require a lot of trial and error for you to progress. Having said that, the game is also not without its issues. Like any old school game, sometimes it can just be too fucking hard. Almost ridiculously hard. And it's even harder to figure out sometimes where you're actually going wrong. Your reputation will sometimes just tank for no reason at all. VIPs will visit your hospital and give you a bad rating, even though it's as clean as a whistle, and you're curing almost all patients who walk through the door. On some levels you have major issues with earthquakes occurring every 3 minutes, and as I said, I'd return to this topic. You will remember that the earthquakes themselves would damage your equipment, and if you were very unlucky, you'd be left with a blown up room looking something like this. Do you ever remember this infuriating mess within a hospital? A room that was destroyed and you can't delete it. You were basically just stuck with it. The AI as well is also ridiculously stupid. I mean, how many times do doctors have to be informed by the receptionist that a doctor is required in the inflator room? However, as you scan the hospital searching for that free doctor, you'll find some chilling in the staff room, and you'd often have to manually move staff around as they wouldn't think on their own 2 feet. Finally, 2 of my personal biggest gripes with the game. The first was the emergencies, if you remember those. Patients being dropped off by a helicopter and a race against the clock to cure them. But in some instances, it was physically fucking impossible. You'd have 8 people show up and about 90 seconds for them to be cured. You'd have to build 3 or even 4 of these clinics and treatment rooms just to manage this many people in such a short space of time. I even had instances where doctors and nurses would disappear off to the staff room mid-emergency. Just going back, obviously, that previous point around the stupidity of the AI. The second was the epidemics. You remember those outbreaks that just seemed to occur about every 4 minutes during your game? You'd solve one and another would begin. Even if the cleanest of clean hospitals, you'd still have them crop up at a very, very regular intervals. It'd drive me insane, and the ability to cure these people, well, you'd have to click on the patient with a needle and a weird green bogey looking thing would appear above their head. I found this out many years later, that if you hired a nurse and let her wander the corridors, she'd even give the patients a vaccination. Still, 24 years later, and you can still learn and evolve in this game. It's quite incredible, really. But again, it was the frequency of these epidemics that really bugged me. You either had to treat every patient before time ran out, again, probably about 90 seconds, or you take a massive reputation hit. And the reputations hit were so significant. You'd often lose around 50 reputation points for this and get hit with an average $5,000 fine. However, the fine was pretty minimal in terms of the impact. It was that reputational damage that was pretty imbalanced, as it took such a long time to build up the reputation of your hospital. Throw in a few epidemics over a 20-minute period and you can go from being on the verge of a promotion to a new hospital to losing your job and having to restart that level again. It really can and could be quite infuriating. A special shout out as well to the doctor who operated as a guide at the bottom of your screen as well. Maybe contentious, but I fucking hate the guy. He'd often make important announcements such as unlocking of a new treatment room, but instead of a notification that you'd receive for a VIP visit as an example, or a new condition being discovered, he'd announce it, and within a 5-second window that text had gone. So you'd often miss these small little details that were very, very important to the overall playing of the game. Even with some of these irritating features, it was never enough to ever put me playing off the game and having hours of fun running a hospital in pretty comedic circumstances. The game still plays pretty smoothly, and just as an acknowledgement to what some of you are probably thinking, this isn't the original game, is it? Well, no, you're absolutely right. The game is so old I wasn't able to get it running on this modern PC that I have, and I'm currently using a mod through Core6. So the game has updated graphics and even a few additional features, such as the ability to speed up the game even further, the ability to remove those annoying, frustrating destroyed rooms as a game changer, and a couple of other features where I'll leave you to find out for yourself. What I'll do is I'll leave a link in the description if you do want to give this a try for yourself, have a go at the game, specifically with these enhanced features. Honestly, it really is good for your mental health, seeing some of these different changes that they've made. I probably used the word infuriating about 55 times in this video, so check it out if you were interested. Hopefully you're liking the content. Interested to hear what other people are potentially looking for me to play, if you're interested in me giving some thoughts, some feedback, sort of thinking about putting a video out on other Bullfrog titles, specifically Populous, and a few other games that may be a little bit more obscure as well, Imperial Glory, and everyone's favourite as well, Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle-earth. So give me a shout in the comments if you're looking for me to do anything on any specific titles, if you're enjoying it, if you're hating it, if you've got any tips and tricks and things that you'd like me for me to do let me know. But thanks a lot for listening. If you've come this far, like I said, give it a like, and if you're interested in seeing some more, give it a subscribe as well. Thanks a lot, and catch you in the next one. Ciao.